Mr. Chato, you did an
Phrasing.
amazing review on the most recent episode. And I do highly recommend everyone check
He
that
actually
out.
got a phone call, a rude phone call right in the middle of his recording.
He did indeed.
It was unbelievable that I got this letter from the producers of She-Hulk right in the middle of trying
or not
to
a phone
do
call, an
review.
email. I meant, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. What a coincidence. The funny thing is, I cannot tell you the number of people on my channel who think that the email was real. So those of you out there who are listening, no, the email was not real. I'm sorry to disappoint.
What? It wasn't real?
Yeah, so it was just an idea that I came up with that, why not have, I've been, shit talking the She-Hulk, and I've been doing my Fran Drescher gag on the poor assistant, and I just thought, oh, you know what if the producer sent me an email saying, please stop calling her Fran Drescher? She's not, she's Ginger. She's a wonderful girl, and she's distressed, and she doesn't want to hear about you calling her Fran Drescher anymore, and just pretending that they've been actually watching my posts, and the actors are feeling badly about the things that I'm saying, stuff like that. I thought it was
they probably are.
Maybe. I'm sure they're not watching my videos, so I thought that was a very funny premise, and I just read this fake email which indicted them for their own complicity in the incompetence of their vision of their own
You might
show.
actually be surprised who might be watching some of your videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they're probably watching. I kid you not.
Anyways, I had a fun with it. It was an interesting gag that I came up with rather than doing just a straight on review, and I'm always trying to do something creative, and it took off. So yeah, it was fun. And as far as the show is concerned, again, my main point of the impetus for the letter to me was the producer telling me the show is not for you, and by extension the show is for them. And who's them? A bunch of wine sipping women in a writing room that couldn't get Nora Ephron to help them. Well, she's dead, but that's what they needed. They needed Nora Ephron in there, that kind of sensibility. Then it would have been funny,
or at least watchable.
So yeah, I mean, it was one of the opening scenes was when she arrived at the wedding. She was in She-Hulk form in her dress that the greatest superhero dress designer in the world created for her, and it wasn't particularly nice. Like, that was actually one of the reveals I was waiting for from the previous episode was, what's this like fabulous dress going to be? And I went, okay, it's a slip with dots on it. And so that was kind of a disappointment on the if I'm revealing my feminine side, that was a disappointment. But then here she comes to show up, the bride coming in as She-Hulk. I thought that was pretty rude, actually. I like, okay, so I am liking the Jennifer character less and less, which I don't see how that benefits the show. She even got drunk in the show, and a guy was trying to be nice to her, and she was unbelievably pathetic in the show. The fight scene between her and Titania was like terrible, and yeah, I don't know what was funny about it, but they have a weird kind of rhythm. Like, I think they understand what they want to do, and then it's just a question of whether other people find it funny. There was the whole thing with Mr. Immortal, which I now understand is one of the Great Lakes Avengers. It's supposed to be kind of a parody superhero. So I just made up some stuff that I thought would be more interesting to the audience. But I thought it was a really bad sequence.
That was them expressing their hatred of men.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. That sequence was them really showing how horrible men are. And really, I think it would have been funnier if he loved all women, but because he knew that he would be immortal and they couldn't stay with him for the entire time that he, that they were living, that this was the only way to get around it because he didn't want to hurt their feelings, and he loved them all equally. And then the women would go,
aged really poorly, I think.
So that I think would have been a funnier sequence and more heartfelt. That was his motivation. It wasn't to screw them out, but the show, made it out that he was an asshole who just wanted to get out of marriage with all these women. So that, like you said, it was an attack on men.
Yeah, pretty
Marriage.
much. Obviously, it wasn't made for any of us, but before I hear what the rest of you have to say, the one that it's the closest to being made for. I'm not saying it's necessarily made for you either, because you don't hate men, but you are a woman, and this thing right here, it's obviously made for women. And then there are more criteria of which you do not fit all, but you certainly fit more than the rest of us here on the panel. So I have to ask what I always ask. Did you feel empowered after watching this episode? Did you feel fulfilled? Was it what you always wanted?
I was a little embarrassed by it. I guess mainly because of how poorly everybody was being treated and this archetype of this character. If she's going to have a mental breakdown and go through what I consider a crisis for someone who's becoming a superhero, then let her have a proper crisis. But, the way that she's interacting with other people, especially somebody she's supposed to care about, we've all had to go to weddings and do family obligations, and you just do them and you smile and you get through it. But she didn't seem to really have any respect for the fact that this is someone's, supposed to be their happiest day of their life. Even if your arch enemy was at the wedding, which often they are, you just smile and you get through it, and you try to be a better person about it. You certainly don't want to make anybody feel bad on what's supposed to be such an important day. So I was surprised by that behavior. I know that's not the first time she's ever been a bridesmaid. Certainly have some respect for others and things that are important to them. Weddings are a family event, so the whole family gets affected by this. Have a little bit of pride in yourself and that you can push through things that are difficult. She says she holds in rage and anger. Well, she didn't look like she held in anything in this one. She clearly wasn't able to hold that stuff in, was she? She had to drink, pound back a lot. You don't want to get super drunk while you're in the wedding party. It's different if you're kind of a different guest, but, eyes are on you in the wedding party. Sometimes you need to help the bride out or help some of the other relatives or friends who are there. So, it's a responsibility being a bridesmaid in a wedding. And I just thought that was, she wasn't happy for her friend. She wasn't happy for her. And, I think that it's very interesting what she was doing, when she was comparing herself to her friend, which is something you should never do. They always tell you, don't compare yourself to someone else. You're a person to be proud of who you are. And this might be one of her lowest points, I think. Perhaps that was what made it so hard to watch, was how little self-esteem she actually has.
So she's kind of like a femcel.
Because her friend, her so-called friend, she hadn't spoken with her for decades, I got the impression, and they clearly weren't that friends. Whatever friendship they ever had was obviously fake. So, what's all that saying? I don't get the point of the episode.
Yeah,
because I get being supportive for your friend, but they weren't friends. She invited her only to humiliate her in her human form.
Yeah, even that. I mean, this is, for whatever reason, she needed her there. And, I'm just going to say, once again, a lot of times you have to attend things and perhaps it's not something that you feel you're going to enjoy yourself at, and perhaps you don't enjoy it, but you're still there for a person who asked you for something, for such an important thing. She's not asking you to go, to an amusement park or something like that. This was kind of an important event. And as somebody who probably has to show up to a lot of events as an attorney, they tend to have to attend different functions for, the firm, and, you have to make appearances for things and be more social. She's not quite as social as she should be for a person who's now has a top level position at a firm where she's handling high profile cases, if you will. She's not quite as social as a working professional would be. She would be going to things like this all the time and constantly running into her friend. It wouldn't be such a shock or a surprise. That girl is going to be around forever. She's supposed to represent everything she doesn't want to be around. But she's got to overcome some of this stuff these little nuances in your life, it's not going to help her to grow, and it's going to hurt her in her career. So that's how I look at it from, let's say, a professional standpoint. From an entertainment standpoint, it's embarrassing. If I saw a friend who was acting like that at a wedding or whatever, that you'd have to pull her aside and say, all right, it's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. They need a pep talk. It wasn't amusing or fun. Weddings are supposed to be fun events, even if, it's at a disappointing moment or not the best circumstances. She's a party pooper.
Like, I think she's more of a femcel, it sounds like. And it's like
think
this
they're
whole thing.
all party poopers there.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting that her husband didn't exist. I didn't meet him, not that I can recall. Wouldn't you?
No, we didn't see him.
That the bride do is introduce the person that she's going to be married to, and so there's just men were devoid in this episode, except for that one guy who was trying to be nice to Jennifer.
Yeah, the creep.
He wasn't
Another
a creep. I don't think. I think he was genuinely interested in her, and she was just drunk. Like,
she's so drunk she probably doesn't even remember the encounter.
Probably.
Speaking of remember, I also think that the reason we didn't see the broom at the wedding is because the writers forgot about him.
Probably.
No, I'm serious. I think they forgot. I think they were like, so yeah, we have like this cat fight between the ladies. So all the ladies were writing this for. They're going to see themselves in this and think it's so hilarious. And they forgot all about the dude at the wedding.
Gauntlet at the very beginning when She-Hulk showed up and they talked about her ass, all women, like it was just nothing but women. So it felt really. I think they ran out of man budget. They've got a quota.
Well, men cost more. That's the whole.
I think the dragon wedding was more interesting and entertaining than this.
Whoops! I think we both hit one at the same time there, Andre.
Yeah,
it looked like
men's brains are worth more than women's because they're unused.
Adam brings up a good point, though, and even though I've only seen a couple episodes of it, this is true too. This kind of was something I was trying to get my head around over the first few episodes. How did she get to this point? You're right. There's you can be like one way and get so far in a certain job, but in a job like this, like I can't believe Johnny Cochran is socially awkward, right? Like I don't.
So I think
he didn't get to the. Huh?
I was just gonna say, I think you're all missing the point. Like that, the show itself has Jennifer Walters having absolutely no character arc or no character development.
Yep.
From the first episode. So the first episode saw her get powers. She schooled Bruce Banner on how to use those powers and control those powers. And from then on, it's actually been every single episode vindicating who Jennifer Walters is and putting her up on a pedestal. Even this episode was her friend going, oh, actually, I love you, She-Hulk. I love you. And Titania having a beef with She-Hulk because She-Hulk stole her thunder. The whole series is literally devoid of any character development or character arc of Jennifer Walters as a character. Every single episode is just vindicating everything that she's done before and putting her up on a pedestal. The previous episode, she goes to court, and like the catfish guy, the guy who felt like he got catfished, completely justified, was like, look, she's just not my type. But She-Hulk, absolutely. So and everyone was lambasting that guy at the end of the last episode because he walked out. It's like, yeah, he walked out. He got catfished. And then they doubled down on that. And then the friend in the bar is like, you do so much better than him. No, it's not a case of doing better. The guy was well justified and was actually quite a nice chap. It's not a case of doing better. So every single episode, there is no character development. There's no character arc for this character. She is so paper thin. What we are watching is a bad, not that I've ever watched it, but I'm going to say bad because just objectively, a bad version of Sex in the City with superpowers. That's all we're watching.
Yeah, but at least Sex in the City had sex in it.
Well, I said bad because I've never watched Sex in the City, just as an FYI. I'm assuming it's bad anyway.
As a comedy writer, the cheat twist ending where the bride came up to She-Hulk and you think she's going to lambaste her again for screwing up her wedding, and then she goes into star mode. And then she flips and goes, "Oh my God, She-Hulk's at my wedding." Well, didn't she at the very beginning tell Jennifer Walters to stop being She-Hulk because
Promise
she's
not to turn into She-Hulk.
not right?
This
Stealing
is,
her thunder.
this is
And
what I've said
that's-
before.
She's stealing
Yeah.
her thunder, and that's exactly
Yeah.
the same
But that's a
dialogue that
cheat
Titania
joke.
was using.
Yeah,
It's
and
the
that's
same
a
dialogue.
yeah.
But this is the point of the show, is that the point is just to prop this character up, because they are so afraid of having her go through any form of change and sort of grow as a character. They're so ballsy about it. Just because I spoke to my friend who's a TV producer as well on the drive today, and I spoke to him about it. Is that at the start of these episodes where they know people are not going to like them, the writers are so sort of narcissistic about their work. They don't use the fourth wall breaking for anything fun. They use it to hang a lantern on what they're about to do that they know the audience isn't going to like, and they think them breaking the fourth wall will change people's minds. So her going, look, I know it's a wedding episode right in the middle. That's not really convenient, but hey, whatever. It's like, yeah, all you're doing is showing us that you don't value the audience's time. We are not going anywhere with the story. Every single story just has the teeniest. Where's the overarching plot here? What, someone wants her blood? Okay, who? We've got 3 episodes left. Get to the point. You know, like, where are we going with this now? Come on. You know, like, these are things which you could have introduced way earlier on and drip fed it. And also, if the writers were smart, interwoven it with each story that was happening, like each episodic plot that was happening, weaving the overarching season plot with the episodic plot of the character development. But they don't. It's just,
there's a tease at the end.
It's vapid nonsense.
Did you see the tease at the end?
I saw it, but I mean, who cares?
No, I'm not saying that vindicates
You got a bigger needle. Yeah, who cares? Yeah. Like, it's just vapid nonsense. All it is, it's just no character development. And one thing which I said, which I think everyone should bear in mind here, which is hilarious, is this is her intro to the MCU. She's going to be in movies, ladies and gents. This paper-thin character who everyone loves and everyone adores because she's Jen Walters, she's She-Hulk. She's going to be in the MCU, and this is her intro.
I'll say what I've said before again. The whole show is schizophrenic. It's not consistent from episode to episode or even within episodes, as you pointed out, Paul. That in the beginning, the woman getting married did not want She-Hulk, and then she's starstruck to have She-Hulk there towards the very end. I mean,
It's a cheat joke.
It's not even that. It's pure incompetence from the writer's room, and I'm shocked that these scripts were ever approved. But before we move on, Tom, did you have any thoughts on the state of She-Hulk before we do the She-Hulk related?
No, not anymore. I just thought that was interesting that Aaron brought up that, yeah, like, I don't see how she got this far being the way she is, because it's, just to get that high up in you know, as being a lawyer, you have to be good in the courtroom. You have to be good with people. And
she was in the
like
DA's
that.
office before this, remember? She was
Yeah,
really high up anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
high up.
Yeah, but to get even higher up, it's not enough just to be a good lawyer. If you're the best lawyer in the world, but you're not the politician, you're going to stay at a certain level and never progress from there. And this is the same everywhere. No matter how good you are, when it comes to like positions that require some level of mingling and stuff like that, you're not going to reach above a certain level unless you have the personality to match, which is why many of the people you see at really executive positions aren't necessarily the most qualified, but they were the best politicians. They were the best people persons who were able to maneuver themselves into those positions. You don't have that, you're not going to get there.
As a sitcom writer, almost every show should have had some kind of legal element around that Jennifer was dealing with. The wedding could have been something that she went to, but then was called back away from because her court duties or the client that she's got called her back or required her again, which caused tension.
Yeah, bring Titania back in that format.
Correct.
So you're I
Yeah.
mean, that
So
would have been the way to do it, right?
Day-to-day work caused the wedding caused tension within the context of her business. That's how a sitcom would normally have been written.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to say. You can't just get to that point, not being able to deal with people, work with people, being as socially awkward as they're trying to portray her in the show.
Well, that's another issue.
And yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's an issue conveniently ignored by these writers because they never had to do that.
Conveniently ignored is the right phrase.
These writers were obviously promoted to a position they are woefully unqualified for, and not because of them being good at what they're doing, obviously, because I have to say this is some of the most incompetent writing I have ever seen. And sadly, it's not the only incompetent writing we have seen this week. There's plenty more where that came from, but before we get to that, let's deal with some of these super chats.